I'm Ashton Addison from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews with Andrew Wesie, co-founder and CTO of ChainLight. Andrew, welcome to the show, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for having me here.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to dive into cybersecurity in crypto, the latest technologies, the latest hacks. How safe are we becoming? I'm hoping it's getting safer each and every year or each and every day with the help of ChainLight as well. I would love to dive into your insights today, but I would love to start our conversation off just hearing a high level on what you and the team are working on at ChainLight and what does the company sort of encompass in terms of cybersecurity in crypto and maybe out of crypto, and then we'll dive into all the details.
Yeah, thank you. So we founded ChainLight in 2016. We started with more of the traditional security, working with a lot of commercial and government customers. And then over a couple of years, we then moved into sort of the Web3 and blockchain space. And so what we really try and bring is bring together experts. So we're based from the CTF community. We've won a lot of competitions there. We try and hire from inside of that community. And then we try and bring everyone together into one team that can help our customers.
Okay, and what is the CTF community?
So Capture the Flag competitions are basically where you have security experts who are going against each other in order to see who is better at knowing their knowledge of cybersecurity, really. So it's just sort of like a fun exercises, sort of war games is how you can think of it. And by doing that, we sort of found some of the best talent in the world for cybersecurity.
Nice. That's always great to have sort of a gamification, and when there's so many hackathons in crypto that I see, and when you can do it in a positive way, you're a white hat hacker or you're protecting people's funds and you're having fun while doing it, that always makes for a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Like hackathons are great for developers, and the CTFs are sort of the equivalent for cybersecurity. And there's some of them in the blockchain world as well that we've done very well at. But they're always fun competitions.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you talk about cybersecurity in crypto year over year, trying to keep up with the new developments, the protection of them, and then new attack vectors that are coming in as new technologies come out as well? I'm guessing it's a bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different reasons for that, right? So one of the reasons is that the technology itself has become more complex. If you look at the sort of the origination of blockchain with Bitcoin, at the time, it was sort of a very simple protocol. There wasn't much that an attacker would be able to do with it. Once we got into Ethereum, smart contracts, all of a sudden there was a lot more ways for an attacker to steal funds because people could now write these complex systems that were run in a decentralized way that anyone could access. And these systems had to be foolproof. They had to be bulletproof because any small chink in their armor, an attacker is going to take advantage of and potentially steal a lot of money. So I think as we see the technology progress, we're seeing a lot more, for instance, zero knowledge systems out there. Those are even more complex than what Ethereum was. And so we're going to continue to see the attacks evolve. We get better each year at protecting against the sort of known attacks, but each year new attacks come out and those we need to learn how to protect against as well.
Definitely. And I want to dive into the ZK tech, which is a bit newer in crypto implementation, at least in a little bit later in the conversation. I'm curious on some of the contracts that I've seen on Ethereum. For example, if there's a DEX, or there's like a DeFi platform, some of them just have like a simple smart contract, which of course all the code for that is public and you can see it. And from what I understand, a smart contract is only as secure as you think it is until it gets attacked. You might have not noticed, a hacker might notice a flaw in a contract, and although everyone can see it when it's launched, you don't really know how secure it is until it gets attacked. And some of these smart contracts have $100 million in it or a few $100 million, and they probably need few $100 million worth of security to be backing that simple contract to ensure that it's not an attack vector for hackers.
That's exactly right. And that's sort of one of the challenges, I think, for users of these smart contracts is how do users judge how secure a project is? Experts like us still have a hard time figuring out whether code is secure or not. It's going to be almost impossible for normal users who are non-technical to do that assessment themselves. So yes, the code is public, but that's only useful if you have experts looking at the code in order to find these problems.
Mm-hmm. And when you do an audit of a smart contract, there's only, I'm guessing there's like a checklist of like the basic things, but then sometimes as these contracts get more complex, there's new variables that come in that either they haven't been thought of or, you know, a semicolon is missing here or there or something, and that allows for the hackers to come in.
Yeah. So there's been several known issues in Ethereum or Solidity smart contracts, for instance. But as an example of sort of new attacks that have come to bear, price oracle manipulation attacks, for instance. Several years ago, that wasn't even on the radar. But then once one of those was found in the wild, when someone actually exploited a contract with the oracle manipulation, all of a sudden, this isn't something now that we have to look for in every single contract that has an external oracle, as an example. So recently, rounding attacks are the same thing. So in computers, you can't precisely measure a value necessarily. So when you do a division, there's going to be some rounding error. And so that's something else that you have to sort of now take account for when you look through all this code.
Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting. And I'm guessing you have some of the industry insights. For 2023, you know, it was a pretty good year for Bitcoin, and for layer 2s becoming more known and more used. What are the numbers for the amount of exploits that happen compared to, you know, 2020, 21, 22, 23? Are we seeing a major decrease in overall the amount of hundreds of millions that have been exploited and the percentages are going down? Or so what is the direction that, and how efficient is it becoming with Chainlight making protective measures over the smart contracts and crypto overall?
Yeah, so we are seeing the numbers grow, but part of that is because the amount of money that is in crypto is also growing. Mm-hmm. So because of that, it's going to be the case that these attacks are going to get larger. So I wouldn't necessarily see that as a bad thing. It's not necessarily good, but it's just because the market itself is larger. One of our customers is Blast. We've done an audit for them recently. They've been very proactive about, okay, we now have $1.3 billion of locked value. Let's make sure we keep that secure because, you know, that's a very juicy target for an attacker. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely working on that. We can't protect everything. So we protect our customers by looking at their code and helping them with that. But that's not necessarily the entire attack surface. We've seen other folks get attacked in ways where it wasn't through the smart contract code that they got hacked, but because someone was able to hack into their servers, get their keys and such. And that's something that we can't really protect against. But those are still sort of included in the whole blockchain security space.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And, you know, I mentioned about different layer 2s. There's a lot of airdrop incentives going on right now with all these layer 2s that have raised hundreds of millions of dollars. They've yet to come out with a token. There's a lot of incentive for people to move their Ethereum over to new networks and also explore with new applications that, you know, might not all be safe, or there might be phishing attacks. I very well know there are some phishing attacks or disguised contracts to, you know, whenever there's free money, so to say, on the line, people sort of get excited and take risks with their capital. And I know one of the top airdrops that's supposed to be coming out in the future is the ZK Sync layer 2 network. I believe there was an exploit of some sort that Chainlight helped with to protect some of the capital in ZK Sync. Maybe you can talk about that story and what exactly happened there.
Yeah, so ZK Sync is like many ZK rollups. They have a zero knowledge circuits, which are equivalent to, you think of it as code, that they use in order to prove that transactions are doing what they're supposed to do, proving that they follow the rules of the network. And so we found a way where the circuit had a bug, and so a malicious prover could change the behavior of a transaction. So, it's one of the important things to know is that right now with all of these ZK rollups, there is generally a centralized prover. There's only one person who's allowed to actually put these proofs onto their main chain, be it Ethereum. And so while we found a bug in these circuits, only a malicious prover would be able to actually exploit it. And at the moment, that's all that control is centralized into Matter Labs, and they're the only ones who can run a prover. But their goal and the goals of every other L2 rollup out there is to decentralize that role to allow anyone to push out these proofs. And so that's where this bug would have became very dangerous, is that if anyone can push a proof and there's a bug in the circuit, then anyone would be able to manipulate the system and potentially steal all of the funds.
Oh my gosh. And yeah, I was reading that the numbers were almost totaling $2 billion.
Yeah, that's roughly how much money has been flowing through ZK Sync era before and after that we found that bug. So it's fixed now, thankfully. Also, ZK Sync era has been very proactive about going and getting audits and finding more issues. So we participated in one of their audits recently where we found a couple more similar issues in their version 2 of their ZK Sync era. And so they're being proactive about getting audits done and making sure that these vulnerabilities are found and fixed.
Yeah, no, that's good to know, especially when there are new protocols like this and hackers are looking, and they're not just looking at one smart contract, perhaps. They're looking at a new attack vector for the whole blockchain. Then you're looking at, billions of dollars, as you're saying, not just hundreds of millions. So you really have to be proactive about the security. And because the ZK technology is new, and I don't understand the computer programming expertise behind it, but from what I understand, being zero knowledge, there's parts that are, you can verify things without having information about it, and that might have some information asymmetry on different aspects. Do you know what are some of the advantages and disadvantages of introducing ZK technology into not just ZK Sync, but any blockchain and smart contracts? How does that affect the security of it, adding in ZK?
Generally speaking, it doesn't greatly affect the security. What it really does affect, though, is the scalability or privacy of the system. So if you can use zero knowledge in order to scale more because you need to send less data to every network participant. Or you can use ZK to increase privacy because you can hide information. Now, where's security comes into play is that right now there are fewer people who know and are able to audit ZK circuits and the code that interacts with ZK circuits. So because there's fewer experts, it means that it's a lot more expensive for projects to get their code audited. That decreases the chances for them to actually get those audits done, because every time you push out new code, every time you add a new feature, you really want to audit all of that code and all of those features. But if there's just not anyone around that has the expertise to do those audits, that becomes very difficult.
Yeah, sort of the downside of innovative technology, and that if you're the first one to make something new, who's going to audit it to determine whether it's secure or not moving forward?
Exactly. And there's this other challenge where right now the zero knowledge systems are kind of distinct. We have 3 or 4 different ZK rollups that are deployed with mainnet, and each of them have a different code base. And so they're all based on zero knowledge. But as an expert who wants to go and look at their code and make sure it's working correctly, we need to now learn a completely new code base for each of those. And we're talking about hundreds of thousands of lines of code. And so it's a substantial time investment.
And do you think with the introduction of these layer 2s that have all these advantages with ZK, do you think the technology is going to be sort of a standard practice moving forward as more blockchains will adopt it, and all new blockchains in the future will introduce part or a whole part of ZK in their technology just as a standard? Is it that good of technology?
It's that good of a technology for scalability. And Ethereum, as an example, there's been a lot of issues with scalability, and they've always are looking for solutions for how to get more transactions per second, or how to get more data onto the network. So the new Ethereum upgrade that's coming hopefully this spring introduces proto-dank sharding, which in some ways is an example of zero knowledge, because you have this data that's going to be on the network, it's going to be verified, and then it's going to be thrown away. And all future nodes in the network just sort of rely on these zero knowledge proofs instead of actually having the original data.
That's good to know. And when a hacker is looking at attacking a different blockchain, is there an incentive for them to go after a ZK blockchain, in that if they find an exploit, maybe there's more privacy around them exploiting the funds and not being able to get caught? Or does the privacy functions inside of the blockchain not really affect them in that specific instance?
We always see attackers utilize privacy technologies in order to sort of hide their tracks. And that happens whether it's a private network or not. So on Ethereum, we have Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash is used in many, many attacks just because it sort of hides the source of the original funds, and it allows the attacker to then get their funds back out without associating it with the hack. So we see that, and I think you'll see attackers use more private networks as they come out, potentially just as a way to mix the funds, not necessarily targeting those networks specifically, but just using them to sort of attack any network. Because the attackers don't really, what they're looking for is, where's the juiciest target? Where's the most money that I can easily get? And then they'll use a bridge, they'll use a swapping website, whatever they need to, in order to get it to either Tornado Cash or some other privacy app.
Okay, yeah, no, that's good to know. And with ChainLight, what are some of the focuses for 2024? Big year here, a lot of new institutions, new players coming into crypto, more holding Bitcoin, and probably that will trickle down into other more innovative blockchains and ZK as well. And as you said, there's more being exploited because there's a lot of capital coming in, and I'm sure the future hackers are probably excited that there's lots of new billions coming in into new technologies. Hopefully, that will keep you guys busy as well to protect all this capital. What are some of the focuses for you and your team for 2024, and what you think might happen in the industry, and where your focus is to protect capital and protect people and projects?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways that we're sort of positioning our company. The first is that we recognize that there are going to be a lot of projects and a lot of developers that need audits. And so we're looking at ways to be able to help more of them. We're limited in the industry and in our company with how many people we have that can actually look at these audits line by line and then write a report. So we're looking at ways of automating those with static analysis tools, maybe automating some of the report generation as well using generative AI, any of the tools that we can use to make our auditors' time more effective. So that's definitely one way that we're positioning ourselves and where we're looking to grow in 2024. The other way is through zero knowledge. So, since it is such a new technology, it's a space where we are trying to build up the skills ourselves, as well as find customers that we can help that need these audits done and make sure that we can review their code and find any of the issues. So we started that a bit last year with working with ZK Sync Era, and we're hoping to expand that to other ZK rollups as well.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. I appreciate your insights into the industry, and it's good to know that you guys are staying on top of the new technologies. Make sure that these smart contracts and people that are just getting into crypto can have a safer experience and not get burned right away. It sort of puts a black mark on what they think crypto is. And, I think the exploits are a very small percentage of all the total innovation of what's happening in blockchain. And I know ChainLight's helping keep that percentage very low. So thank you guys for what you're doing and for your insights into the industry. All the best in 2024 and moving forward here. And let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Yeah, thank you, Ashton. It was a pleasure.